With the base color material handled, all we have to do now is to import the last type of material, the alpha tested one. To handle alpha surfaces, there's multiple ways of doing this. We're going to keep things very simple for this tutorial. We're just going to do a good old-fashioned alpha test. Discard text cells that are below a specific alpha threshold. So I'm going to jump back into Blender and I'm going to head over to my alpha tested objects here, material here. I am going to select them all. I am going to go under File, Export Collada, just as we did before. And I'm also going to export a GLTF to extract back the roughness and metallic value. I am all set. I am going to jump back into my NRG editor. In the MicroKart directory, I am going to create a duplicate of my base shader here, and I'm going to call it Alpha. I'm going to head over to my coding layout and I'm going to do a simple modification to that shader to handle a alpha test. I'm going to go over the fragment shader and I'm going to add a new uniform variable that I'm going to call alpha test, float and alpha test. Test, please. And I'm going to go in my main function and I'm going to create a new variable to do a check of the color before going down the shader here. So vector 4, and I'm going to call it color, and I'm going to go search the line for my texture lookup here. And this time I want to do a texture lookup on a RGBA components. And I'm going to do something like if color.a, my alpha, is less than my alpha test, then simply discard the fragment. And I'm going to copy that here and restore my albedo.rgb. I'm going to build that and I'm going to jump again to my default layout, MicroKart directory, asset, import, desktop, MicroKart, my Collada file. And under material, I'm going to create a new preset this time for the alpha type. I'm going to call it alpha. The identifier will be alpha underscore. The shader will be alpha, the one that we just created. For the script, I am going to use set uniforms. First sampler will be my irradiance. Second sampler will be my radiance cube map. Third sampler will be my shadow map. And the last but not the least, the identifier will be underscore base color, just like we did for the base preset. Animation, no animation. Skeletons, no skeletons. Visual scene, and I'm going to place them both. I'm going to place them both on the right depth to cast shadow and geometry to show the color. And finally, scan for existing asset. As you might have noticed, the side of those fans, those bar, is basically a plain material that we import earlier. So we don't want to re-import it again. Just reuse what we already have. And I'm ready to go. I'm going to click import. My alpha tested material objects are now in my library. And I am going to click on the AlphaNet here, which is the center. Make sure that is the center. If we're clicking on the fence here, you can see that is the plain gray. And we want to have access to the center here, the AlphaNet. For a very specific reason, we want to access the user variable and now go tweak that alpha test, that threshold that we have, uniform that we have just created. I'm going to click on the variable icon and give it a range of 0 to 1. And I'm going to go a bit closer and I'm going to drag that over to find a appropriate value. Somewhere in that range, let's say 0.47 and 5. Seems to give acceptable result. Now we have a problem. As I move, you can see that I am losing my fence here. This is because of the cull face. The front face is looking this way. So as I go in the back, it disappears. What we're going to do is we're going to create a simple script that we're going to connect to our AlphaNet material to disable cull face before drawing and then restore it back when we're done. So we're going to go under MicroKart, double click and create a scripts directory, create, enter the scripts directory, and then asset, new script, and I'm going to call it disable cull face. I will be using Node for this one, so I will not create a default function. Callback, create. Back to my coding, I am going to go under scripts, disable call face, enable the use of node, and I jump over to the node editor, push spacebar to create new nodes, events, and I'm going to have on draw before the material is draw, and I'm going to create another one, events on display after the material is draw. I am going to drag over here the connection, and I'm going to say disable. Let's do a quick search, GFX disable, and call face is the first on the list. And when I'm done drawing that material, drag and drop, enable, and this time enable back call face. And that's all there is to it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go back in material properties, ensure that my AlphaNet is selected, create a new thread, open it up, drag and drop. And if I go back on my default here, as I turn, you can see that now my fence is draw both sides. Last thing we have to do is to restore the material metallic and roughness value. So same as we did before in our coding, pick up our utility, launch it, select the GLTF file, open, and you can see here at the bottom that the AlphaNet material have been handled and the properties have been restored. So basically we have everything that we need right now to start importing our track. In the next session, I will quickly go over the rest of the layer on the Blender file to show you exactly where is what at this point, and we will be ready to import the track itself and start working on it.